The Young and the Restless Spoilers, the Miraculous Reunion, Nate and Audra's search for Damian. The search for Damian had been an exhausting journey for Nate and Audra. What began with determination and hope had, over time, devolved into frustration and disappointment. Each lead seemed to end in a dead end, every clue dissolving into thin air. After days of chasing shadows, they were ready to accept the bitter reality that perhaps Damian simply didn't want to be found. But sometimes, fate works in mysterious ways. A false trail leads to disappointment. Following the address given by Denise, the neighbor of Damian's last known residence, Nate and Audra felt a flicker of hope. But when they arrived, the news crushed their spirits. Damian had moved, and no one knew where. Standing outside the house, Nate felt the weight of years of separation from his brother heavier than ever before. He leaned on the gatepost, staring into the distance as if willing the universe to provide an answer. Maybe it's time to let go, Audra suggested hesitantly, sensing Nate's growing despair. I can't, Nate replied firmly, though his voice wavered. He's my brother. I need to know. Still, with no clear direction left, the two began to consider ending their search. It seemed the world didn't want them to find Damian. An unexpected discovery on the verge of giving up, Nate decided to pay a visit to an old friend who worked at a local hospital. It was meant to be a brief reprieve, a distraction from the weight of their mission. The hospital was bustling with activity as they walked through its bright, sterile corridors. Doctors in white coats rushed past, their faces calm but focused, while nurses moved efficiently from room to room. The hum of machines and the soft murmur of conversations filled the air. As Nate and Audra stood in the hallway waiting for Nate's friend, a voice caught their attention. Dr. Damian, you're needed in Ward 3. The name froze Nate in his tracks. His heart raced as he turned, searching for the source of the announcement. Then, as if scripted by destiny, a man in a white coat stepped into view. His posture was confident, his expression calm yet kind, and he carried himself with an air of quiet authority. Damian, Nate whispered, his voice barely audible. The man looked so familiar, yet older, more refined. Could it really be him? Gathering his courage, Nate called out. Damian. The man turned, his brows furrowed in confusion at first. But as their eyes met, recognition dawned. Slowly, Damian approached, his steps tentative. Do I know you? He asked, his tone polite but cautious. It's me, Nate said, his voice thick with emotion. It's your brother. Reconnecting after years of separation, Damian's expression shifted from confusion to shock, and then to something indescribable, a mixture of joy, disbelief, and overwhelming emotion. Nate, he said, almost in a whisper. The two brothers embraced, the years of separation melting away in that single moment. Audra watched silently from a few steps back, a soft smile on her face. She knew how much this moment meant to Nate. As they sat down in the hospital cafeteria to talk, Nate couldn't help but marvel at how much Damian had accomplished. It turned out that Damian, like Nate, had pursued a career in medicine. He was now a well-respected doctor at the hospital, loved by his colleagues and patients alike for his dedication and skill. I never expected to find you here, Nate admitted, his voice tinged with pride. I always knew you were brilliant, but this is incredible. Damian smiled modestly. I've just been doing what I love. But Nate, I thought you'd forgotten about me. Forgotten? Nate shook his head vehemently. I never stopped thinking about you. I've spent years trying to find you. The conversation turned to the past, as Damian shared his journey, why he had left, the struggles he faced, and how he eventually built a new life. There were moments of sadness as they reflected on the years lost, but also joy in realizing that they now had the chance to rebuild their relationship. A new chapter begins for Nate. Finding Damian wasn't just about reconnecting with his brother, it was also about healing old wounds. He had spent so much of his life burdened by guilt and regret, wondering if he could have done more to keep their family together. But now, seeing Damian thriving, he felt a sense of closure and peace. The two brothers decided to spend more time together, catching up on everything they had missed. Nate introduced Damian to Audra, who quickly bonded with him over their shared admiration for Nate. As they walked out of the hospital that evening, Nate felt something he hadn't felt in years: hope. His journey to find Damian had been long and arduous, but it had been worth every step. He looked over at his brother, now chatting animatedly with Audra, and smiled. "I'm proud of you," he said quietly. Damian turned to him, his expression softening. "And I'm proud of you, Nate. For never giving up on me." What comes next? Reuniting with Damian was only the beginning. Nate now faced the challenge of integrating his brother back into his life. How would they navigate their shared history and build a future together? And what role would Audra play in this new chapter? One thing was certain: the bond between the two brothers, though tested by time and distance, had proven unbreakable. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. A twist of fate, Audra, Damian, and a new beginning. The air in the hospital cafeteria seemed to shimmer with a mixture of relief, disbelief, and joy. For Nate, the reunion with his long-lost brother Damian was a moment he had dreamed of for years. But for Audra, the moment took an unexpected turn. As Damian spoke, his voice steady yet warm, she found herself captivated, not just by his story but by his undeniable charm and striking looks. Audra's unexpected reaction. Audra had always been pragmatic, focused on the task at hand. Her role in helping Nate search for Damian was just another challenge, another puzzle to solve. But now, sitting across from this man with kind eyes and a confident smile, she felt her heart flutter, a sensation she hadn't anticipated. She tried to brush it off. "Focus, Audra," she thought to herself. "This is Nate's brother, for heaven's sake." But every time Damian glanced her way, his piercing gaze seemed to unravel her composure. His genuine warmth, the way he listened intently, and the soft laugh he gave when Nate recounted their childhood misadventures, it all drew her in. Yet, she knew better than to let these feelings show. She kept her thoughts to herself, offering a polite smile whenever Damian's eyes met hers. But deep down, she couldn't deny the magnetic pull. Nate's call to Amy, a step towards certainty. As the evening progressed, Nate excused himself to make an important phone call. He needed to inform Amy, his mother, about the incredible discovery. Dialing her number, his hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from anticipation. Amy had spent years mourning the loss of Damian, believing she might never see him again. Would she even believe the news? "Amy," Nate began when she picked up. His voice was calm but tinged with emotion. "I found him. I found Damian." There was a pause on the other end of the line, followed by a sharp intake of breath. "Nate, don't play games with me," Amy replied, her voice shaking. "Are you sure? How do you know it's him?" "I'm sure, but I want to make absolutely certain," Nate said. "We'll run a DNA test to confirm." "But, Mom, it's him." "I know it." Amy remained silent for a moment, processing the information. Finally, she said, "If it's true, if it really is Damian, I don't know how I'll ever thank you." The DNA test, a necessary step despite the emotional weight of their reunion, Nate knew they needed concrete proof. Memories and resemblances were powerful, but a DNA test would provide irrefutable evidence. He broached the subject carefully with Damian. "Damian, I know this is all overwhelming," Nate began. "But to clear up any doubts, for all of us, we need to confirm with a DNA test." Damian nodded understandingly. "I don't blame you," he said. "If our positions were reversed, I'd want the same. Let's do it." The test was scheduled for the following week, and the results would take a few days to process. In the meantime, Nate and Audra stayed close to Damian, eager to learn more about his life while cautiously optimistic about what the test might reveal. Audra's inner conflict. Audra, however, found herself grappling with her feelings. She had always been Nate's confidant and partner in this journey. Now, she felt torn between her loyalty to him and the growing connection she sensed with Damian. She reminded herself that any romantic feelings were inappropriate. Damian was Nate's brother, and this moment was about family, not her personal emotions. Still, she couldn't ignore the way Damian's presence affected her. The way he spoke with such passion about his work at the hospital, the way his eyes lit up when recounting the patients he had helped, it was magnetic. Audra knew she had to tread carefully, ensuring that her emotions didn't complicate the delicate reunion unfolding before her. A new beginning, January 8, 2025. As the days passed, excitement grew. The DNA results were expected soon, and the hospital planned a special event to celebrate Damian's contributions to their community. Set for January 8, 2025, the event would mark a new chapter not only for Damian but also for his family. Word spread quickly among the hospital staff, patients, and even the local community. Damian's reputation as a skilled and compassionate doctor had earned him admiration, and his story of reuniting with his family added a layer of emotional resonance. For Nate, the event represented more than just a celebration of Damian's work. It was a chance to share his brother with the world, to introduce him as a part of their family after years of separation. The future awaits as January 8 approached. The anticipation was palpable. Would the DNA results confirm what everyone hoped? How would Amy react when she finally met Damian again? And for Audra, what would this new chapter mean for her own life? The reunion had already changed so much, but it was clear that this was just the beginning. With Damian's presence, a once fractured family had the chance to heal and grow stronger. And as they stood on the precipice of a new year, they knew one thing for certain: this was a fresh start, full of promise and possibility.